Hey everybody, it's your boy Gwiz coming to you from China. I just came back from a very interesting trip that I did not want to make, but I had to. I know in my last video I said that I did not want to get on an airplane with a bunch of German people, and I did not want to go to an airport with a bunch of German people, but I had to do this one. This is what we call a visa run. So I'm about to start a new job in another city, teaching at a university in China. And while I'm waiting, they're processing a new work visa for me so I can continue teaching and staying in China. So in the meantime, I've got a multiple entry visa, which allows me to exit and enter China every 60 days. I received that the last time I was in New York at the China embassy. If I overstay those 60 days, then there are penalties and I get kicked out, and it's typical Chinese rules that are very confusing and inconvenient, especially if you're not Chinese. So what happens is if you're an expat and you have that multiple entry visa, before your visa expires, you leave China. The customs immigration officer stamps your visa that you left. You go to Hong Kong and then you come right back, okay? And then that resets the whole process for another 60 days. So it's like this for me until I get the work visa, and then I'm good for a whole year, and then I'll never have to do this again. So this is a trip that I have to make. It's just the timing with this coronavirus thing just really sucks right now. People were telling me, oh, don't go. I'm sure the government will make some kind of allowances because of the coronavirus situation, and you won't have to exit right now. And I'm like, nah, this is China. They don't really make allowances for anything, especially if you're a foreigner. They can be unforgiving, uncompromising if you overstay your visa. No questions asked. You must return to your country and reapply from there. Goodbye. And yeah, I know you say, oh, Gene, that's racist. But no, that's exactly how it is. Trust me, I've been there. The last couple of times you saw me in New York, it wasn't a vacation. It wasn't a holiday trip. I had to come back. Cost me a lot of money, and I was pissed. So right now I'm at Kunshan train station, about to take the high-speed train into Shanghai. This is not normally the way I would go to the airport, but because my city, Taicang, is kind of closed off, no buses are running and no taxi cabs will drive directly into Shanghai to the airport. And this is all due to the coronavirus outbreak. Yeah, just getting here was not very easy. Normally for me, getting to an airport from Taicang is not what I would consider to be convenient. I would take a Didi, which is a taxi cab, to the bus station, and from the bus station I would take a bus directly to either Pudong Airport or Hangqiao Airport, which are both international airports, and it's usually about a 40-minute ride. So even before I got to this point, I had to buy the tickets, and I use an app called trip.com, which is in English and allows me to buy plane tickets and even train tickets here in China. That is very convenient, but since the outbreak and many flights have been canceled and Hong Kong has blocked off most of its borders, so getting to Hong Kong is not that easy right now because they are really trying to limit people moving around and spreading this virus. So knowing that I had to make this visa run, I booked far in advance to try to get a cheap ticket using the Trip app. You know, trying to save some money, I booked a round-trip flight from Shanghai to Hong Kong on Spring Airlines, which is a budget airline. And it was all good. The flight was confirmed, it was booked, and I was all ready to go right up until like the week before the flight. And then I received the cancellation notice. The flight had been canceled by the airline. So I was like, oh man. So I booked another flight with the same airline, Spring Airlines. And again, it was all good. The flight was confirmed. 3 days before the flight was scheduled to leave, received a notice. The flight was canceled by the airline. So if you're an expat in China and you have to do the same run, don't book Spring Airlines. You probably have to spend a little more money. I booked Hong Kong Airlines and Shanghai Airlines. Those tickets were confirmed and they stayed booked. I think Spring was having trouble getting full flights, so they ended up canceling all of those flights. It happened 3 times. But as I said, I couldn't get a bus out of Taicang, and there were taxi drivers around the bus station, and when they saw me there, you know, I think they just wanted to go someplace local, and I said Hangqiao Airport, and they were like, oh, no Shanghai, no Shanghai, we can't go to Shanghai. So I was trying to figure this out. You know, there must be a way to get to the airport, right? So I showed them this letter that I had gotten from the police department. There's an entry and exit bureau that foreigners have to check into every time they enter their city. You know, so every time you come back into China, you have to go to the police department, and they, you know, they register you, and, you know, they log when you left and where you came in. So you know, you're being tracked. You know, it's China. That's what it is. So I went to the police department. They saw that the visa was about to expire, so they gave me this document that showed that yes, he lives there. It had my passport, all my information, and everything. And they gave me 2 copies of this document. And the police department told me, okay, you can come back to Taicang with this. You just show them this, you can come back to Taicang. Because otherwise, it's boarded up. You know, all the toll bridges are blocked off, and they have checkpoints and everything. So it's blocked off basically for Chinese people, if you're a Chinese national. So I'm outside the bus station, and all the cab drivers, you know, they're saying, no, we can't take you. We can't take you. And I pull out the document from the police department, and all of them, they're like 10 cab drivers, and they're all looking around. They're, oh, Lao Wai, Lao Wai. Lao Wai means foreigner. One of them gets on the phone with the dispatcher, and they're all trying to help me out. You know, they're like, okay, what is it? He needs to get to the airport. What do we do? So the dispatcher says, okay, take him to Kunshan. Take him to the high-speed train station. And Kunshan is like the next city over, because Taicang does not have a train station. So if you have to go to any place major from Taicang, you would either go to Shanghai or Kunshan, because they both have high-speed train stations. He speaks a little English, so the driver who doesn't speak English, he puts me on the phone with the dispatcher, and he says, okay, I'm telling the guy to take you to Kunshan. You'll take the high-speed train from there, and the high-speed train will take you into Hangqiao Airport. Okay, and they were really making sure that I understood, and I was like, yeah, I get it. Okay, cool. So shout out to those taxi drivers for really having my back. So during the taxi ride, we did come to a checkpoint, and 2 police officers, they stopped him, and they were like, oh, you cannot go through here. And he pointed in the back, and I leaned out towards the window, and they saw me, and they said, oh, Lao Wai. Okay, go. So it was all good. So foreigners can still move about pretty much. It's just the Chinese nationals, they still need some special permission to cross borders. So this is the entrance to Hangqiao Airport outside Terminal 2. And everyone is being guided and directed to form a line. This is where they are doing the temperature check, the body checks, and they're having everybody walk single file in front of these infrared cameras. And I took a look at the screen. You could actually see it. You know, they could see the temperatures of everybody who walks through. So if you have a fever, you will show up on that screen. You know, that if you have like a red silhouette, you're sick. You should not be traveling. I don't know what happens if they find somebody. I haven't seen anyone actually getting pulled off. But you can see the guys in the hazmat suits, and that's becoming a regular thing now. You see them all over now, and they stop you, they take your temperature, and this might be the new normal in China. All right, so from there I had to take a train to the next terminal, Terminal 1. And you can see there aren't a lot of people traveling, so that's a good thing. You know, I was very concerned about being in a closed area with a lot of people, but fortunately people are not traveling, so the trains are pretty much empty. And as you see, the airports are pretty empty too, which is very, very weird. It's kind of surreal to walk through a busy airport that's usually busy, but it's so vacant now. Look at all the empty lines. Right, so people are staying home, they're staying inside. For some people it's mandatory. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to move around and I'm not quarantined like a lot of people who I've spoken to. who are here, foreigners who teach here, and they work here, and they are under lockdown. And some of them are in the affected areas. Some are in the pretty busy cities. So I guess I'm kind of lucky to be in Taicang, you know, because I can leave, I can go in and come out, and they still take my temperature. But you know, I can go shopping whenever I want. I can take a walk, because although it is taken very seriously, Taicang does not have the heavy traffic back and forth as a city like Shenzhen might have, where the people there are kind of shut down, as I understand it. So before you check in, there's this form that you have to fill out that I've never seen before. So it's a health form, and it asks you several questions such as, have you ever been to Wuhan and Hubei province and things like that? Have you ever had health issues? Oh, by the way, if you are traveling, bring your own pen. Make sure that you have your own pen, because you do not want to use the pens that are on the counter at the desk, because you don't know who or how many people have used them. So I always carry my own pens. So you have to fill that out, and then you have to present that as you check in. So I got to the gate right on time. The shuttle bus to the airplane was already there and ready to go. So I knew there would be problems, so I left early. I could have left even earlier because I didn't realize that the buses wouldn't be running. But even so, I still left 6 hours before the flight. Hopefully that won't be it next time, but you know, I might even leave maybe 8 hours before, because this is crazy. So since I've been back, I've gotten a few messages from other foreigners who have to make this same run, and they asked me how did I do it, you know? Well, I did it because I'm a badass. That's how I did it. But but no, seriously, I didn't know what was going to happen, because all the information that we got regarding Hong Kong was that everybody going to Hong Kong was going to have to go through a 14-day quarantine process. So I figured, well, I don't need to enter Hong Kong this time. Since I have the multi-entry visa, I don't need to go into the city. I just need to stay at the airport and catch the next flight back to Shanghai. So this is the part that I was most concerned about, with actually being in the plane in a closed area with other people. Even though everyone's wearing masks and everything, you still don't know, you know, it's a concern everybody has. Once we took off, we had to fill out another entry form, and the woman next to me asked me if she can use my pen, and I'm like, are you serious? Right, but she was wearing gloves, so you know, I gave her a pass because she had surgical gloves on. But that brings me back to what I said before: bring your own pens. Once we got into Hong Kong, this is the part I wasn't sure what was going to happen. Is this the quarantine part? What were we going to have to do? I packed 2 weeks of clothes just in case. So again, you go through single file, you know, you go through, they scan you, they make you take off your hat, which is a normal thing anyway, you know, you take your hat off, and that's usually for identification. But now it's, you know, they're scanning your temperature and asking you several questions about, have you ever been to Wuhan, and your health history and things like that. And they also ask, are you going into the city, into Hong Kong City? So apparently, if you are going to Hong Kong City, you need a note. You need a health note. So it's almost like you need a note from your doctor to go to Hong Kong right now. Otherwise, you cannot get into Hong Kong without that 14-day quarantine. So I told them, no, I'm just on a visa run. I'm going back to China tomorrow. And they say, okay, do you have your boarding pass? And I said, no, it's an e-ticket. So they say, okay, well, you just wait in the transfer area. You get your boarding pass for the next flight. You go back through immigrations and customs, and you're off to China. So my flight back was 11 a.m. the next morning, so I spent the night in the airport using the free airport Wi-Fi. Nice to be able to use the internet without the VPN. Kept my mask on, kept my distance from other people. It wasn't that bad. Some of the shops were still open, so got some food. I've been in worse situations. While in the lounge, I did see a few people without masks on. I guess they were coming from different countries. One seemed to be like a family from India, and none of them had masks on, so maybe they couldn't find masks or they weren't that worried about it. But some of them had kids. They were like complete families, little kids, and they didn't have masks. So while people in Hong Kong are bracing for the outbreak situation to get worse, at the airport it seems pretty normal, if I might say. I must say that although this is a good mask that I'm wearing, I'm pretty sure that it was not intended to be worn for as long as I've been wearing it. I have not taken it off in a whole day. And it has this metal clip on the top of it which seals the air from escaping the top of a mask, and that clip actually hurts your nose after a while. So I have a big nose, and it can be pretty painful after a while, but I'm still not taking it off. Also, it's not that good if you have bad breath, so take a Tic Tac before you put on the mask. Bring a couple of them, because if you have bad breath, oh man, you're going to be inhaling yourself for a long time. Might be a good way to get a free mask now, since masks are so hard to find these days. The worse your breath is, that your breath? Yeah, why? Put this mask on, your breath stink. Seriously? Yeah, don't take it off, man, it's bad. I'm doing Eddie Murphy. Alright, so now check this out. I'm boarding the plane, right? And this flight attendant sees me with my phone, and I'm filming here. And look at like no pictures, no. Hello, you're an Asian woman with a mask on. Nobody is going to recognize you. Okay, what are you trying to hide from? I'm just saying, let's be real here. Yeah, I know, racist, but hey. They do it to us all the time. All right, so mission accomplished, right? I did it. I got out of China, went to Hong Kong, didn't have to go under quarantine, came back to China, landed safely. All this during a coronavirus outbreak. It's all good, right? Well, not quite. After we landed, we received a message over the loudspeaker that there would probably be a delay with our being able to leave the plane. And then this happened. So we were all told to remain seated as two people in the biohazard suits came onto the plane. And they walked directly to a person sitting in the aisle exactly across from my seat. Now, I don't know how this happened. Maybe the passenger wrote something on the card that made the flight attendants concerned. Maybe she wrote that she'd been to Wuhan or Hebei province. Or maybe there were some kind of instruments on the plane that showed people's temperatures. And maybe she had a high temperature or something. But they went straight for her. And they pulled out the kits. And they did the examination right there. All this while Kenny G was being played over the system. So I don't know which was worse. And I know I'm making jokes and you might be listening to this and saying, wow, this guy is not taking this seriously, but trust me, I am. That's just me. Maybe it's a defense mechanism or something, but you know, that's just how I work. It's my New York sarcasm. So the whole process is taking maybe a half hour, and I don't speak Chinese, so I'm not really understanding what they're saying. And maybe if you can hear the audio, maybe you can tell me what it is and leave a message in the comments what they're saying. But I'm pretty sure that they said at some point in the examination, sick. And then the other passengers on the train, they kind of reacted like, oh, gasp. So at this point, it's starting to get really hot on the plane, and I'm starting to think, oh man, maybe I hope I'm not getting a fever or something, because it's, you know, it's getting hot in here. And I got on this mask, I can't breathe, and, you know, other people on the plane start fanning themselves, so, you know, I'm like, okay, it's not just me, they're hot too. So they start sectioning off groups in the plane, and I see them counting rows. So I think they're counting off everybody into like 10 group rows. So they let the group in the first half of the plane, they let them leave. They say, okay, you can get off the plane. Tell me what they're saying, all right? And then they let the people in the 10 rows behind us, they say, okay, you can leave. You know, so the people behind me all get up and they can walk out. You know, so I'm like, oh shit, I'm right across. Excuse my language. But I'm like, yeah, oh shit, I'm in the row right across from this person. Am I gonna have to go into quarantine after all of this? So the people who are remaining on the plane, they're checked one at a time. You know, they put the instruments in our ears and they take our temperature, and we all had to write another form with our address. So I guess if anyone on the plane turns up to have any symptoms, we will be contacted, or, you know, I hope we're contacted. I want to know. But generally people are calm. Nobody's freaking out, as you see. So I'm in the last group of people on the plane, and then finally Biohazard Girl, she tells me, okay, you can go up front. Okay, so I go up front, and they're still not letting me off the plane, and there's some other people there, and they're getting a little agitated, and there's a Chinese woman, and she's kind of complaining, so I'm still not sure if we're under quarantine or whatever the situation is. So finally they make an announcement over the loudspeaker, and they say, we will call names one by one, and once we call your name, you can leave. And finally they call my name, so I say, is it okay? Is it all right to leave? And yeah, they said, yep. All right, so that was my visa run, my trip from Hong Kong to Shanghai on Valentine's Day, February 14th. I'm sharing this information for those of you who might be in the same situation. I spoke to a few expats who asked me about going to Hong Kong, who are going to have to do the same thing. So I'm happy to share this experience with you. Just come prepared, man. You know, bring your disinfectant wipes, and if you have surgical gloves, goggles like I've got here, you know, because you have to take precautions. Remember, bring your own pens and things like that. So yeah, this is only a part of the trip. You know, getting back into Taicang was really crazy because of all the roadblocks and the security checks, and they just weren't letting people in. So it cost me $300. I found a cab driver who was willing to take me there. I have to admit, he was pretty brave to do all of that, because I've spoken to some expats who told me that in their cities, the cities that they're at, they've had armies with the guns preventing people to get out. That applies pretty much for the Chinese citizens. You know, like I said before, the Laowais can pretty much leave if they have to, as long as you have that note from the police with your address that says you're a resident. So good luck to everybody, man. Stay safe in these very, very weird and crazy times here. I'm okay, all right? So, you know, relax with the, oh, be safe, oh, come back, why, you're crazy. We've been through all of this before, okay? I'm here for a reason. I'm trying to make this work out. Keep in touch, but don't get all hysterical, all right? It's not doing me or anybody any good. You know why? Because I'm a badass. That's why. You don't have to worry about me. I'm okay, man. All right. Hey, I know this is a long video, man, you know, but I think it's very informative and important. And I hope I can upload it because the VPN situation is really getting rough right now. So click like on the video, please. Click subscribe to my YouTube channel. You leave comments, talk to me, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm Gwiz. Peace.